This is Gennaro Gajardo Vera, the first recorded person to claim ownership of the moon in 1954. Then, in 1996, a German man named Martin Jürgens declared the moon had been transferred to him through succession. He claimed it was granted to his ancestors in 1756 by Prussian King Frederick the Great as a reward for their service. But the most famous moon claimant is Dennis Hope. In 1982, he created an extraterrestrial real estate company called the Lunar Embassy, where he claims to have sold millions of acres of lunar land. So who really owns the moon? And can you actually buy a piece of this beautiful celestial body yourself? Let's find out. So what does owning the moon even mean? On Earth, owning land means you have the legal right to use it, develop it, sell it, and stop others from trespassing. Governments enforce those rights, and courts back them up. But the moon? There's no government up there, no police force, no courthouse. So even if someone did own it, who's going to enforce that? Who do you call when your lunar neighbor parks their rover on your land? This is the core problem. Ownership without enforcement is just a piece of paper. Or, in Dennis Hope's case, a very profitable piece of paper. So what does the actual law say? In 1967, at the height of the space race, the UN put together the Outer Space Treaty, signed by over 100 nations. Article 2 states clearly, no sovereignty, no occupation, no appropriation by any means. No country can own the moon. But here's the loophole that's been driving lawyers and billionaires crazy ever since. The treaty says nations can't own the moon. It says nothing explicitly about private individuals or corporations. That's the gap Dennis Hope exploited. His argument? The treaty bans governments. I'm not a government. Legal scholars disagree, and somewhere in that gap, he's reportedly made millions. The UN tried to close this loophole with the Moon Agreement of 1979, which declared the moon's resources the common heritage of mankind, meaning no private exploitation allowed. Here's the problem. No major spacefaring nation signed it. Not the US, not Russia, not China. The countries that actually have rockets looked at this agreement and walked away. Fast forward to 2020. NASA introduced the Artemis Accords, and this is where the real action is. The Accords explicitly state that countries and their commercial partners can extract and use lunar resources. Not own the moon, but take stuff from it. Think of it like international waters. Nobody owns the ocean, but you can fish in it, drill it, and operate commercially on it. Over 40 countries have signed, including India, Japan, and most of Europe. China and Russia have not, launching their own rival lunar program instead. The moon has already become a political chessboard. Which brings us to the real question. Why does everyone suddenly care this much about the moon? Because of these two reasons: water ice and rare earth elements. NASA confirmed deposits of water ice in craters near the lunar poles. This is huge because in space, water is rocket fuel. The moon could become a refueling depot for missions to Mars and beyond, which changes the economics of deep space exploration entirely. On top of that, the lunar surface has essential rare earth minerals for 99% of the electronics we use in our daily life. China controls over 60% of Earth's rare earth production today, and lunar mining could completely reshape that leverage. And then there's the big one. A future fuel that is almost non-existent on Earth. Helium-3. This is the resource that has governments paying very close attention. Nuclear fusion, the same process that powers the sun, could generate vast amounts of clean energy. Current fusion fuels produce high amounts of radioactive byproducts. Helium-3-based fusion produces far fewer, meaning cleaner, more efficient reactors. On Earth, helium-3 is very rare. We measure it in kilograms. On the moon, estimates suggest 1 to 5 million metric tons deposited by solar wind over billions of years. 25 tons of fused helium-3 could power the entire United States for a year. And having said that, multiple entities are already mapping helium-3 distribution on the Moon. Whoever owns future access to this resource holds extraordinary energy leverage over the rest of the planet. The commercial logic is simple. If lunar resources are legally extractable, which the Artemis Accords are pushing toward, whoever builds infrastructure there first has a massive head start. So, can you buy a piece of the Moon? You can hand Mr. Hope some money and receive a certificate, but legally it means nothing. No authority recognizes it. The Moon remains unowned. Based on where international law is heading, it'll likely stay that way. But resource extraction rights? Those are very much up for grabs. And meanwhile, the actual race, the one with rockets, billions of dollars, and geopolitical stakes, is only just beginning. Nobody owns the Moon, but everybody wants a piece of it. And honestly, given what's up there, can you blame them? Stay curious, share this video, and subscribe for more.